Hello. I want to talk to you today about the excitement around seeing a book's cover for the first time. Now, authors, whether you're traditionally published or independently published, self-published, um, you have to have a cover that you love. You have to fall in love with your cover. And I know some authors are very lucky that they have some graphic design skills that will enable them to produce a cover to a very tight budget. But there's more to it than having those skills, and I can't recommend uh, strongly enough that you find a cover designer who has a proven track record, that will be ahead of the curve perhaps, with the designs, because when you look at designs of your favourite books, they've been in the process of being produced for months before they reach a bookshop. So it's all down to the skills of a cover designer to provide you with a cover that you love, and also one which, when you upload it onto the various platforms, can be done without any hassle. And you see this quite often with authors who have chosen to use someone who doesn't have the necessarily strong knowledge of the various platforms and what the requirements are. One of the things to look out for is the use of stock images that these designers perhaps are using, because you might be disappointed to see a character that's been used on the cover of your book appear on somebody else's. And I've seen that several times. Now, when I came across Jessica Bell, a partner member like I am of the Alliance of Independent Authors, I knew she was producing excellent covers because many of my clients were using her services. And I can remember thinking all those years ago that if ever I wrote a book, I was going to use Jessica to design the cover. Um, Authors have a number of reasons why they begin writing, and that's probably the strangest one, isn't it? That I wanted to use a particular cover designer. Now, she produced a series of covers for my Posted in the Past books, and I loved all of them. I still do. In this one, you might be able to make out two faces, and they are faces of my great grandparents, and I'm very fortunate that my family has a photograph of them, and Jessica was able to bring that in. Now, on the reverse, she included a photograph of my grandfather standing there wearing his RAF uniform, and he's standing next to his brother. So that's Albert Tatchell, my grandfather, and his brother Kenneth. Now, when I'm recording this video today, it's in amongst the celebrations, commemorations of VE Day. And of course, as well as celebrating the end of the war, many families wouldn't have had that opportunity because many of the men and women didn't come home, did they? And Kenneth Tatchell, my great uncle, was one of those. He was actually killed in Italy, and his grave is in Italy, and he's remembered on the headstone of his brother and his father in Swaнаge's Godlington Cemetery. So that for me was very important to have that photograph on the back, because all of the things I write are about remembrance, remembering my own family, and also remembering the families of others. So moving on to the cover of Memories from the Future. Postcards are important in all of the books that I write, and they are important to this new novel. And I wanted to send Jessica the postcards that I wanted her to include in some way. And one of the postcards for the cover, for the front of the cover, is this one of Dunkery Beacon. Now, many of you might be familiar with Dunkery Beacon. Perhaps you've climbed up to the beacon. I've climbed up many times. It's the highest point on Exmoor. It's the highest point in the county, I believe. And I usually walk up to the beacon from Exford, which is one of the lowest points, and it's about 8 miles there and back. And it's lovely when you reach the summit because you get wonderful views. But there are lots of roads and tracks nearby, and so if you can't walk that distance and you don't want to, you can actually park quite close by and walk up. So this postcard is actually of the beacon as it was around the time my novel is set. Today it's a very robust beacon. There's a memorial stone that commemorates the handing over the gifting of the area to the National Trust. But you can see at the time this postcard image was taken that it's quite a shambolic almost beacon. Although it was used, it was lit to celebrate the coronation of George V. And from that point, you can imagine how far it would have been seen by people in the area. Now, the other postcard I sent Jessica to use on the cover, on the front, is this one of Lynmouth. This is an important location in the plot. And this view actually captures many important buildings. The tower that you can see was actually replaced after the terrible floods in 1952. But this is how it would have looked when Arthur was there. And you can see to one side this building here. That's the Mars Hill, buildings on Mars Hill. And at the top of this hill, the very final building you can see, just behind there is one of the Shelley's cottages that I mentioned in my novel. Now, the building on the other side of the postcard here, that's the Rock House Hotel. And I've stayed there. It's right on the quayside. It's wonderful. And when I was there was a storm and waves were crashing against the windows. And it's an important building in the plot for the time that Arthur is there as well. So those are the images that I've sent Jessica. I don't know how she's going to display them on the cover, but it'd be fun to see, won't it? Now, on the reverse, I sent Jessica 3 postcards that I wanted her to include, because Arthur is travelling around Exmoor in the novel. And I think I've already shared this one in an earlier talk, but this is the Plume of Feathers Hotel where Arthur stays for the first few nights that he's in the area. And the building isn't there today. It was demolished, I think, in the 60s. So it's nice to see it captured in this image. And it's got the name of the owners of the hotel at this time. And they are the owners that I've researched who would have been there at the time the novel was set. Now, after Arthur leaves Minehead, he moves on to Simmonsbath, which when you look at maps of Exmoor, it's a very central location. Lots of networks of roads lead off and take you all over the place. And it's a lovely place to actually visit. So this is the hotel where Arthur stays when he's in Simmonsbath. And this postcard view was captured, I think, 3 or 4 years before Arthur's visit. At that time, it was a temperance hotel and a normal licensed hotel. But by the time Arthur is there, it is just the Exmoor Forest Hotel. And you can see one of the monkey puzzle trees that actually pops up every now and again in the plot. And Arthur would have arrived by a horse-drawn vehicle, although motorised vehicles were available in the area, and they do appear in my plot, because of the hills that there are, and with people, their weight and the luggage, the vehicles were horse-drawn. And there are times when perhaps the horses had to be rested and the passengers had to walk up behind the carriages. They couldn't actually be carried to the top of the hills by horsepower. Now, the final hotel that Arthur stays in is this one, the White Horse at Exford. Now, at first glance, it doesn't actually look much different to how it looks today. But if you look along this side here, if you look online perhaps at their website, you'll see that there's another floor being added. And I stay here regularly, and it's in those upper rooms that aren't in this image where I like to stay, because you overlook the river. You get a lovely view of the river and the cottages and the hills on the other side. Now, you possibly can't see in this this image, but in the front of the window here, the bay window, there are some steps that would be used to help you mount a horse. And those steps are still there today, which is lovely, isn't it? They've been clad in modern slabs now, but they are in the same position. And there's been other alterations on this side. This wall has been removed and you can drive round, and that's where the car park is for the hotel. And so that it's lovely to see these changes, and to look at them closely, because they do reveal so much, don't you? And this is one of the fascinating things with these old postcards, that you can capture these changes. I don't know yet how Jessica is going to use any of these images in the design for my book. I know I'm going to be excited. I know I'm going to be pleased, and I know I'm going to love it. And as soon as I get it, I'll be sharing the details with you. So once again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed these insights into the story behind my novel, and I'll share the image of my cover rather as soon as I have it.